Good. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Friedlander with Verizon Digital Media Services. I'm the Director of Solutions Engineering, Global Media and Entertainment. Today we're going to talk about how to successfully stream live events at scale. Let's see here. So the OTT industry itself is abuzz about the potential of live video, but implementing a live video stream without glitches and delays can be more difficult than initially expected. There's so many questions to consider when considering successfully delivering live video, including what kind of technology is needed to support a successful live stream, what kind of network does it need to run on, how can content creators troubleshoot if there are problems with the broadcast. These are type of things we're going to walk through today in the slides and hopefully open up for any questions at the end. So the first question we all have to answer is kind of what is a live event? It can be anything, and these days you can flick on any type of camera from your phone to your computer to a professional Red camera, and you can be broadcasting something to someone anywhere in the world. But I believe that the word broadcasting is overused a lot these days. Today, that word is all-inclusive, from someone making YouTube videos in their basement to short clips on Vine, or citizen journalists using Periscope or Facebook to live broadcast to the world. Yeah, in technical terms, it's quote-unquote broadcasting. That's what the people are doing. But is it really broadcasting in the traditional sense? I personally don't believe so. I don't think it's not highly produced, high-quality events delivered in high quality that's meant to sustain viewers for longer than minutes, but multiple minutes or hours. These types of services today don't have the tools or infrastructure to support that at a high quality or for a long period of time. What I'm going to focus on today are major events like World Cup, college sports, or the Super Bowl. We're talking about sustaining high-quality delivery to every user to keep them engaged and hopefully monetize the heck out of them through subscription or ads the entire time while they watch. We need to be able to manage viewership that's today not equal to broadcast numbers, but upwards of 2 to 5 million concurrent users at any given time. We can pretty much say it's not easy to do that. It's not easy because there's so many pieces where this workflow can fall apart and break. Our job as vendors is to make sure that that doesn't happen, and the scale is available to handle expected traffic and much more. So let's first take a look at a high level of the pieces that are needed to offer up this experience from beginning to end. Obviously, you need to ingest content from wherever that content's being produced. You'll need some way to get the feed from the cameras into a streaming infrastructure. You need bandwidth as part of the ingest process. You need the ability to get those bits from point A to point B. Obviously, you have to encode those bits and prep the video assets for streaming. Storage, you need to keep all those files, all those encoded pieces available to be able to deliver and support. Most importantly, right, you need to call someone when something inevitably is going to go wrong with the live event. So let's first take a look at the first part, which is the infrastructure, right? It's just as important. On the playback side, we have to make sure that consumers' expectations are met. We found at Verizon that the more that experience replicates broadcast television, the higher the retention and engagement numbers are for any event. So what's needed on the side to make everything work for there is you need authentication, a method to make sure that the users are allowed to access the streams, session management, which we believe is a critical piece of the pie, the ability to track the user and manage their experience on a one-to-one level with every user to optimize their delivery, quality, and engagement. Relevant ads. You need targeted ads and relevant ads that keep the end user engaged, which thus will allow them to watch longer. And the longer they watch, the more ads we can serve and the more money we can make. Blackouts, which is super important when it comes to content rights. You need the ability to restrict or dynamically change what's being broadcast to each end user on a one-to-one level. And delivery, you not only need that rock-solid network, but you need a smart one as well to make sure that high-end chunks, especially with live events, are getting to the edge as fast as possible, thus giving end users the highest quality delivery at any given time. So let's break that down really quickly. So traditional methods of ingest require satellite or fiber connections to facilities, but that in itself is not very scalable. And with more modern solutions, content owners can open up their choices beyond traditional methods to include on location using standard internet which is much more cost effective than labor or traditional solutions. At Verizon, we have a piece of software that we call the Slicer. Slicer's free to download software. It works on Mac, Linux, and Windows. It has a very small footprint, only requires minimum bandwidth requirements, around 5 megabits per second, for full HD live linear feeds. This piece of software also has the ability to listen to SCSI messages or receive API calls to insert ad breaks, content starts, or blackout triggers live as you're producing the event. So now with nothing more than a laptop, content owners can scale to broadcast nearly any event without having to coordinate satellite trucks or fiber feeds to every location. This has allowed some of our content owners to deliver thousands of live events just this year alone that they weren't previously able to broadcast because of the expense of having to do satellite or fiber from a location. By lowering the footprint and bandwidth requirements for live, we move all the complexity of encoding to the cloud, which, when it comes to live, allows us to dynamically update the system and scale infinitely based on needs. A good cloud encoding solution, though, has to be fast and scalable and smart in that growth. So a good solution needs to always be prepared for spikes and quickly handle the higher-end chunks so end users can watch live as close to real time as possible. In our case, we always have X number of encoders available for a job at any given time, and the ability to spin up new ones when specific thresholds are met on our cloud encoding environment, so that way we're never waiting for new infrastructure to scale up, so we always have free availability to encode assets. We also have a complex brokering system that sits in front of all that. This system receives the chunks from our slicers and moves them to the most optimal encoder available at the time to ensure we're not always overburdening any specific machines, and we're keeping the chunks moving through our system and going to storage in near real time. Storage is often an overlooked piece of the pie as far as I'm concerned. An integrated storage solution relieves the responsibility for content owners and distributors to have to not only manage that, but set that up for every live event. It also speeds the delivery from first frame to the end user. By having the storage as part of the overall solution, all the connections are already there to the network and the delivery path. So as chunks are sent to the cloud and processed by encoders, the interconnect to the edge makes sure that not only are the lowest, smallest size chunks available, obviously, but the high-end, high-quality, larger size chunks are there waiting for the end user to consume in almost real time. Not only does this allow content owners the ease of mind that this piece is integrated into the solution from the get-go to the delivery pipeline, but it also guarantees that the end user will get the highest quality experience, once again prolonging that engagement time, hopefully thus increasing monetization. So that just covers kind of the basic infrastructure needed to have optimal experience for ingest, encode, and storage. But as I laid out before, there's so much more to guarantee that experience for each and every end user to make sure that content owners are able to monetize that experience. Obviously, an end user must authenticate or log in, and we've seen over the past few years, infrastructure is a big point of a bottleneck, even in those pieces, right? Unlike VOD streaming with live, you have to account for not only millions of people watching, but millions of people all authenticating or logging in or starting the streams at the exact same time. So companies like Adobe have been working on trying to build infrastructure up to make this part rock solid. But once the users log in and we know who that user is, we want to deliver a personalized or unique feed to each one of those users that generates a manifest and tracks their engagement individually. And at scale, that needs to support the proven dynamic ads that are conditioned the same as the content to give the users an experience that's no different than they're used to from watching with their cable companies or satellite companies that they have today. We've seen with our customers engagement time increase more than 50% versus their traditional live OTT solution that either had no ads or had a poor quality ad experience. So by conditioning the ads to be the same as the broadcast, we've seen that engagement increase a lot. The client was able to show that with the uplink solution that users watched more through the ad breaks because it was a non-disruptive experience. So they weren't restarting their player. They didn't think their player broke. The quality was the same. They just left it on. It just kept working. Although producing any live event for streaming delivery is not a simple task, doing it with dynamic ads for each and every user and maintaining that one-to-one relationship adds a level of magnitude to that that's really hard to explain because you now have to manage that infrastructure as well, but you have to handle sessions that are upwards of 300 times the size of a VOD one-to-one relationship with dynamic ads. Within our solution, we call this session management. The session is a one-to-one relationship with every user. This allows delivery of the best content for that user and dynamic ads targeted to each and every user who hits play. But this was not an easy feat, as I mentioned. Much like authentication, the session servers must be able to scale and manage going from 0 to like 200 miles per hour in the matter of seconds. So we have to sustain millions of concurrent users over the course of hours. Our infrastructure has been resilient. It's been built to be resilient and scale more servers than are needed at any given time. So just like our encoding environment, we always scale more session servers than are needed. So we always have the available bandwidth to add new sessions at any given time. And we've stress tested session starts upwards of 20,000 per second and concurrent sessions in the tens of millions in anticipation of numbers moving from traditional TV to OTT over the next few years. And because we're already able to handle the user on a session-by-session basis, we can use the same technology backbone to enforce blackout rules or content replacement. So when end users come to a stream where they're not allowed to view certain events or games, they're not just presented with a poor experience, a blank screen, or a slate. They're served up content they can view or the appropriate game. In one scenario, we were able to meet the needs of a specific customer who had a regional sports product and in the United States, and because of various rights associated with baseball or hockey or the NBA, they had over 256 unique playout scenarios of that single channel all over the United States. We were able to look at this from a streaming perspective and allow them to eliminate the infrastructure that they were going to set up to basically play out 256 iterations and set up 256 encoders. We were able to do this by ingesting their 32 actual unique pieces of content and using our one-to-one relationship with the user and a series of rules based on a blackout ID, which were in the SCUDdy messages. And we were able to serve up individual manifests to each and every user on the playout side to replay out those 256 iterations just using 32 encoders. So today, we've covered a lot of the little pieces, but I think what is one of the most important pieces and most often overlooked as well is the delivery or the CDN being an integrated piece. We're well beyond the days of CDNs not being able to handle the load of large-scale events. All modern CDNs are architected in ways where the throughput on the edge is managed, so capacity can handle spikes and efficiencies are there to reduce that burden of live events. As we noted earlier, with most of the major issues we've seen in large-scale events over the last few years, it's rarely been the CDN. It's been some other piece of the chain, but a smart CDN can ensure higher quality delivery to the end user. So our Edgecast network, which is tightly integrated with our video solution Uplink, we've added features to enable much better live delivery. Through integrating our origin storage into the mix and our edge technology, which always knows to request video chunks well past what the client is actually requesting in any given region so that the high-end chunks are always where they need to be when they need to be, no matter when they're needed and anywhere in the world, we're able to deliver higher-end chunks. So when a video player or an end user requests chunk 2, 3, or 4, our network is smart enough to know that, hey, this is a video URL coming from Uplink. I know it's a live event. I'm actually going to start requesting chunks 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, well beyond what the end user's client. So those chunks are already cached and available on the edge in the specific region. So through our SuperParp architecture and our 3,500 direct connects with last mile networks around the world, we know that the quality live experience is something that we can deliver no matter what the size or scale of the event actually is. So to summarize, large broadcast events need to be able to offer an exceptional and personalized experience from ads to the proper reset without putting a burden on clients to stitch together a solution from various different places. There needs to be the comfort of knowing someone's supporting this live event 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, and has the infrastructure ready to handle any event, any scale at any given time. Clients should know that the solution exists to help drive eyeballs to their event in real time by having web-based clipping tools and the ability to publish to social features built right into the platform. And broadcasters should feel confident that the world is changing and their companies are able to support the change to make sure a flawless OTT delivery of live events is the now and not the distant future. So